Yo, so I should be live, I think. Yeah, welcome back to reading Zarathustra. This is part 2. Today is the 17th of February. Yesterday I read the introduction and a little bit of the first part, and yeah, I got really tired in the end. I'm actually quite tired right now, and I actually slept really bad this night, but I just didn't feel like, and I didn't really feel like continuing this. But I mean, it's sort of a thing that I have to push myself a little bit, because you sort of have to change your habits, and you change your habits by acting differently, basically. So I will just continue anyway, even if I feel a bit tired. So yeah, where were we? Yeah, so Zarathustra, he 30 years old, he left his home and left his home and went into the mountains. Angel spirit solitude and for 10 years aware of it, but at last his heart changed and he was went to Spake Zarathustra. So he comes down from the mountain after 10 years in solitude, and yeah, and he meets the people, and we were. I remember I read here basically, so I'll continue from 4. Zarathustra, however, looked at the people and wondered. Then he spake thus: Man is a rope stretched between the animal and the Superman, a rope over an abyss. A dangerous crossing, a dangerous wayfaring, a dangerous looking back, a dangerous trembling and halting. What is great in man is that he is a bridge and not a goal. What is lovable in man is that he is an overgoing and a downgoing. I love those that know not how to live except as downgoers, for they are the overgoers. I love the great despisers, because they are the great adorers, and arrows of longing for the other shore. I love those who do not first seek a reason beyond the stars for going down and being sacrifices, but sacrifice themselves to the earth, that the earth of the Superman may hereafter arrive. I love him who liveth in order to know, and seeketh to know in order that the Superman may hereafter live. Thus seeketh he his own down-going. I love him who laboureth and inventeth that he may build the house for the Superman, and prepare for him earth, animal, and plant, for thus seeketh he his own down-going. I love him who loveth his virtue, for virtue is the will to down-going, and an arrow of longing. I love him who reserveth no share of spirit for himself, but wanteth to be wholly the spirit of his virtue. Thus walketh he a spirit over the bridge. I love him who maketh his virtue his inclination and destiny. Thus, for the sake of his virtue, he is willing to live on, or live no more. I love him who decideth not too many virtues. One virtue is more of a virtue than two, because it is more of a not to for one's destiny to cling to. I love him whose soul is lavish, who wanted to thank and doth not give back, for he is always bestowed, and decided not to keep for himself. I love him who is ashamed when the dice falls in his favor, and who then asketh, Am I a dishonest player? For he is willing to succumb. Okay, so what Zarathustra? I'm gonna change this blue thing. So all of this is downgoing is the theme here, right? It's an ideal for Nietzsche that in order to get somewhere, you have to be willing to take risks, right? You have to be willing to sacrifice yourself for any like meaningful change to occur. And basically Nietzsche says that What is great in man is a bridge and a goal. He is Superman is the goal. Like the ultimate person, right? Is a man. But also man is we haven't reached the Superman yet, so also we are the way to the goal. We are the bridges. Man is a rope stretched between the animal and the Superman, a rope over an abyss. Okay, I have to... So there we have the quotes from yesterday. And I think it's gonna be a little messy, maybe. Oh. Can anyone see this actually? I'm live. Am I live? Yeah, I am live. Why can't I see my own? I am live. Yeah, I'm so new to streaming, so yeah, well, hey, I have to get used to it. This was from yesterday. This was just a video I uploaded, but today I'm streaming. So yeah, I am live. Actually, I just did a test stream actually, so I can see chat here if anyone joins. Okay. Yeah. Man is a rope stretched between the animal and the Superman, a rope over an abyss. We basically have to pull man, you know, get all the best things out of him, and that is very dangerous. But if you can do that, we can reach the Superman. That is the goal here. So I will quote that. I can't really explain. Well, actually, quote that from yesterday. So I'll quote this one at least. Fine. Well, yes, I mean, didn't want to log on because it says my name and I don't kind of want to dox myself right now, so I just logged off because I saved it to my account, but it says my name there and there's no way to get it off, so I just logged off from yesterday, and now it says that I can't save it because I'm not logged on. I just don't like when I have these messages disturbing me, you know. Oh, fuck off. Okay, but so yeah, I mean, this is the ideal, right? Overgoing to reach a Superman, we have to go down. We have to be sacrificed. So on all these, Nietzsche says like, this is how we are supposed to live. This is what Zarathustra loves. This is what the ideal wants, you know. I love those who do not know not how to live except as downgoers and overgoers. I love the great despisers because they are the great adorers and arrows or longing for the other shore. So he even says he loves the great despisers. Even, you can say, the great haters. You know, in today's world, there's so much talk about people being haters and stuff. Obviously, if you pay attention, you know this. But from Nietzsche's point of view, this is not a bad thing, because if you hate something, that must necessarily mean that you love the other thing, and even if that is like extremely controversial, it still sort of pushes the envelope. It still sort of seeks a change, and it doesn't really matter that much what the change is, but if you seek change as a downgoer, like if you are like a very sort of controversial person, that is, I think, that is exactly what he's talking about. Because a controversial person will, he's a downgoer, but at the same time he is an overgoer. Well, it depends on the content of on the controversy, and but I mean, so much in society, you know. It's so difficult to talk about this properly, I feel. I'm shaking a bit. I don't know, I'm shaking. I'm feeling nervous or something. I just need to calm myself down a little bit. But I do believe that this is what he's saying, that I love the great despisers, because they are the great adorers, and arrows are longing for the other shore. He do love the great despisers. I love those who do not first seek a reason beyond the stars for going down and make sacrifices, but sacrifice themselves to the earth, that the earth of the Superman may hereafter arrive. So you don't have to sacrifice yourself in a religious context. You don't have to believe in God, you just have to believe in the earth and in humanity. Well, you necessarily have to believe in that. You should not believe in God, according to Nietzsche. This is what he loves, you know. I love him who liveth in order to know, and seeketh to know in order that the Superman may hereafter live. Thus seeketh he his own down going. So the purpose of acquiring wisdom and knowledge is that you should use that to aid in the conception of the Superman. And if you do that properly, you're actually going down, I think. Svartsnitz is saying that if you're like a real truth seeker, then in the real sense of the word, you know, then that is bound to be a controversial. It's bound to be a lot of controversy to that. So, thus you're also going down. I love him who laboureth and inventeth that he may build the house for the Superman, and prepare for him earth, animal, and plant. Thus seeketh he his own downgoing. So you have the same thing, laboured, invented, build, sort of prepare, facilitate things for the great individual. I love him who loveth his virtue, for virtue is the will to downgoing, and an arrow of longing. I love him who reserveth no share of spirit for himself, but wanted to be wholly. That means like, doesn't mean holy, but it means like fully, right? I think. Wanted to be wholly the spirit of his virtue. Thus walketh he as spirit over the bridge. So, I think when it comes to virtue, what is virtue and what isn't a virtue, I think it's difficult to explain again, and I think there can be so many things that is but he says later here that I love him who decided not too many virtues. One virtue is more of a virtue than two, because it is more of a knot for one's destiny to cling to. And I have thought about this. If you're very good at one thing, like if you can like explain your truth, maybe you know something about a particular event or something, and you know it very well, and you're very good at explaining it to others, then you can say that is your virtue, that is your sort of point in life, that is what you can help with society with. Well, you can help to bring about the Superman, for example. So, but if you can do that, then you shouldn't be doing too many other things, because it just complicates things. Then you get then you maybe just seen as a nut job, you know. Maybe you will anyway, but you know, it is maybe more you have more legitimacy if you only do like one thing really good, instead of trying to do many things sort of half-heartedly or whatever. And you should be the fully spirit of your virtue, right? I love him who make it his virtue, his inclination and destiny, right? Thus, for the sake of his virtue, he is willing to live on or live no more. So that depends on the virtue. That depends on the sort of on the thing you can do, the thing you are great at, and the thing that is a great thing for everyone. Well, or for the goal, right? For a Superman, we can say. I love him whose soul is lavish. Okay, I don't actually remember what lavish means. Here we have the words from yesterday. Extol, to praise highly, nebulous, hazy, exhort, urge, hallowed, to make holy, inordinately, not within proper reasonable limits. Enmity, a feeling of Christian hostility. Forsooth, in truth, in fact, indeed. Vestige, a trace or remnant of something that is disappearing or no longer exists. Self-complacency, complacent satisfaction with oneself. Oh, whoa, I actually did a mistake here. So I put the quotes in the definitions tab. Right. Okay. What's going on there? Oh, okay. So here we have quotes, and here we have verbs, okay? And lavish, what does that mean? I'm live. You can see I'm live here. If you please say something if you stop by, so I can see that it's in chat here. Sumptuously rich, elaborate, or luxurious. So it means like luxurious, basically. I don't know what sumptuously means either. Lavish, something rich, elaborate, or luxurious. Okay. I wish him a soul-ish luxurious, who wanted no thank and doth not give back, for he is always bestoweth, and desireth not to keep for himself. You know, soul is lavish. That means that, like, yeah, I don't. The soul is so hard, but like in your, I can't explain it. I love him who is ashamed when the dice fall in his favor, and who then asks it, am I a dishonest player? For he is willing to succumb. I love him who scattereth golden words in advance of his deeds, and always doeth more than he promiseth, for he seeketh his own down-going. So he says he loves people who brags, or are arrogant maybe, and always do it more than he promised it, for he seeks his own down-going. I love him who justifieth the future ones, and redeemeth the past ones, for he is willing to succumb through the present ones. Yeah, redeemeth the past ones. I mean, when I sort of think about this, I mean, I am a right-wing type of person. I've explained on this YouTube channel before. So do you kind of think in these kinds of terms? When they say redeem it, the past ones. You know, it's a bit tricky. When we have to be willing to succumb through the present ones. You have to be a down-goer, basically. That is what he's saying all the way here. If you redeem it, the past ones, then you're a down-goer for sure. Succumb through the present ones. Yeah. I love him who chasteneth his God, because he loveth his God, for he must succumb through the wrath of his God. Yeah, that makes sense, because I mean, I should probably have some more quotes here actually. All of this is very good, I think. Even if I can't explain it properly, I think it's very good. This is an important quote. This too is also important quote. We will say them. Chastenet, that means chastise. That means to sort of upbraid, which means to sort of criticize, basically. And that makes sense, because you have to, if you truly love something, that you should only love the best. So and you have to be willing to sort of be critical of what the thing you love, you know? And if that is God, you have to be critical of your God, right? But then you succumb through the wrath of your God, right? If you chasten it, your God, then you succumb through the wrath of your God. I love him whose soul is deep even in the wounding, and may succumb through a small matter. Thus goeth he willingly over the bridge. I love him whose soul is so overfull that he forgetteth himself, and all things are in him. Thus all things become his down-going. Basically, you should live a life full of experiences. Your soul should be rich, so much so that you forget yourself. because everything is in you. But that is also a kind of don't going, because you forget yourself. You don't sort of recognize what you're supposed to do. Allow him who is of a free spirit and a free heart. Thus is his head only the bowels of his heart. His heart, however, causeth his stone going. Nietzsche is very big on the heart, that or the instinct, you can say, and sort of our innermost desires. That is what actually matters, because we have many thoughts that are sort of surface level and that are of very little importance in the greater scheme of things. You should be of a free spirit and of a free heart, meaning you should be able to sort of to change when the circumstances require it. And by the way, if I don't understand something and you understand them, please let me know. You're very welcome to criticize my reading of this, because I'm only trying to learn, basically. So feel free to say that, oh, you didn't really get this quote or whatever, and here is what it means, or here is what you think it means, because I think it is difficult for most people to have a very clear understanding of all this. And it will be different for each person also. Allow all who are like heavy drops falling one by one out of the dark cloud that lowereth over man. They herald the coming of the lightning and succumb as heralds. So herald, that means like a sort of a bringer or something, of bringer of a doctrine or whatever. Herald definition: a person or thing viewed as a sign that something is about to happen. Yeah. I knew it. Okay. Heavy drops falling one by one onto the dark cloud that lowereth over man. Yeah, we have a dark cloud over us, basically. You can call it culture or something. And the people who can break free from that, they are the downgoers, but also they are the overgoers. Lo, I am a herald of the lightning, and a heavy drop out of the cloud. The lightning, however, is the Superman. Yeah. Yeah. That is a nice image. I mean, I probably ruin it if I try to explain everything, because my explanation is so dumb compared to the quotes. But I get it. When Zarathustra had spoken these words, he again looked at the people and was silent. There they stand, said he to his heart. There they laugh, they understand me not. I am not the mouth for these ears. Must one first batter their ears that they may learn to hear with their eyes? Must one clatter like cattle drums and penitent preachers? Or do they only believe the stammerer? They have something whereof they are proud. What do they call it, that which maketh them proud? Culture, they call it. It distinguisheth them from the goat herds. They dislike, therefore, to hear of contempt of themselves. So I will appeal to their pride. I will speak unto them for them of the most contemptible thing. That, however, is the last man. So the Zarathustra speaks to the crowd, and they don't really get him. Because they are proud of their culture, And yeah, their culture distinguishes them from whatever was before them, from like nomad people or whatever, just goatherds. And they obviously don't like to be criticized of that which they are proud of. And here we have the concept of the last man, which is the opposite of the Superman. And thus spake Zarathustra unto the people. It is time for man to fix his goal. It is time for man to plant the germ of his highest hope. Still is his soil rich enough for it, but that soil will one day be poor and exhausted, and no lofty tree will any longer be able to grow thereon. Alas, there cometh a time when man will no longer launch the arrow of his longing beyond man, and the string of his bow will have unlearned to whiz. I tell you, one must still have chaos in one to give birth to a dancing star. I tell you, ye still have chaos in you. Alas, there cometh a time when man will no longer give birth to any star. Alas, there cometh the time of the most despicable man, who can no longer despise himself. Lo, I show you the last man. I very much remember these quotes from the Will Durant video. It was slightly better, I think, in that translation. But what he's saying that is basically that the end is nigh, that we don't actually have that much time, because we are actually moving towards that which Nietzsche fears, namely the last man. Still his soul is rich for, but that soul will one day be poor and exhausted, and no lofty tree will any longer grow thereon, So I will quote this at least. Oh, keep making mistakes here. Herald, that was a definition, not a quote. And here is a... Does it not work when I copy paste them? And this is also a very famous quote here. You must have chaos in you to give birth to a dancing star. Lo, I show you the last man. What is love? What is creation? What is longing? What is a star? So asketh the last man and blinketh. The earth hath then become small, and on it there hoppeth the last man who maketh everything small. His species is ineradicable, like that of the ground flea. The last man liveth longest. We have discovered happiness, said the last man, and blinked thereby. They have left regions where it is hard to live, for they need warmth. One still loveth one's neighbor, and rubbeth against him, for one needeth warmth. Turning ill and being distressful, they consider sinful. They walk verily, he is a fool who still stumbleth over stones or men. A little poison now and then, that maketh pleasant dreams, and much poison at last for a pleasant death. One still worketh, for work is a pastime, but one is careful lest the pastime should hurt one. One no longer becometh poor or rich, both are too burdensome. Who still wanted to rule? Who still wanted to obey? Both are too burdensome. No shepherd and one herd. Everyone wanted the same. Everyone is equal. He who hath utter sentiments goeth voluntarily into the madhouse. Formerly all the world was insane, say the subtlest of them, and blink thereby. They are clever and know all that had happened, so there is no end to their raillery. People still fall out, but are soon reconciled, otherwise it spoileth their stomachs. They have their little pleasures for the day and their little pleasures for the night, but they have a regard for health. We have discovered happiness, said the last man, and blinked thereby. And here ended the first discourse of Zarathustra, which is also called the Prologue, for at this point the shouting and mirth of the multitude interrupted him. Give us this last man, O Zarathustra, they called out. Make us into these last men. Then will we make thee a present of the Superman. And all the people exulted and smacked their lips. Zarathustra, however, turned sad and said this to his heart. They understand me not. I am not the mouth for these ears. So here we have the last man. And you can definitely see the resemblance of people today who don't want to discover certain things, for example, and who would be happy to say that we have discovered everything we want to know, and from now on we should only live happily ever after, right? We have created a good society. All you have to do is just to be kind to each other or something like that, and just live good lives from here on with our material wealth and everything. And there's like no greater dreams. There's like everything is small. The last one make it everything small. His species is ineradicable because we will find ways to just keep living until we are like 150 or something, probably. I think there is a technology that is might come one day that will prevent people from aging with their bodies, so they in theory they could live for a very long time. That may actually happen, I think. You know, they have lived regions where it's hard to live, where it's warmth, you know, and it makes sense because, you know, Nietzsche doesn't really like, you know, all this comfort. Basically, he wants us to live dangerously because that sort of inspires faculties in us which are important. You know, and being distrustful, you know, being dissenting, they consider sinful, for example. That is exactly what we can see today. And they walk warily, you know. They don't really offend. They don't say rude things. Everyone are like on par. A little poison now and then. Pleasant dreams and much poison or pleasant death. We still work, but not too hard. Both being poor or too rich. We can have there are actually articles sometimes that of like rich people giving their perspective of why their lives are difficult even though they're rich. And from a natural perspective, that is kind of stupid because that sort of signifies that you don't actually have meaning in your life, or that we don't have meaning in our culture, right? So yeah, being rich is too burdensome, exactly. No shepherd and one herd, no leader. If this goal is continued, Well, if this goal is reached, then there will be no leader, because everyone wanted the same. Everyone was equal. You had other sentinels go into the madhouse. This is about to happen. Formerly Oliver was insane. Okay. So he says this about the last man to the crowd, but they sort of they said, try us, show us this last man. But the reason he was saying that was because, you know, you're supposed to understand that I am being almost sort of ironic here. This is not a good thing. Too long perhaps have I lived in the mountains, too much have I hearkened unto the brooks and the trees. Now do I speak unto them as unto the goat herds. Calm is my soul, and clear like the mountains in the morning. But they think me cold and a mocker with terrible jests. And now do they look at me and laugh. And when they laugh, they hate me too. There is ice in their laughter. Yeah. Then, however, something happened, which made every mouth mute and every eye fixed. In the meantime, of course, the rope dancer had commenced his performance. He had come out of a little door and was going along the rope, which was stretched between two towers, so that it hung above the marketplace and the people. When he was just midway across, the little door opened once more, and a gaudily dressed fellow like a buffoon sprang out and went rapidly after the first one. Go on, half-foot, cried his frightful voice. Go on, lazy bones, interloper, sallow face, lest I tickle thee with my heel. What dost thou here between the towers? In the tower is the place for thee. Thou shouldst be locked up. To one better than thyself thou blockest the way. And with every word he came nearer and nearer the first one. When, however, he was but a step behind, there happened the frightful thing which made every mouth mute and every eye fixed. He uttered a yell like a devil, and jumped over the other who was in his way. The latter, however, when he thus saw his rival triumph, lost at the same time his head and his footing on the rope. He threw his pole away, and shot downwards faster than it, like an eddy of arms and legs into the depth. The marketplace and the people were like the sea when the storm cometh on. They all flew apart and in disorder, especially where the body was about to fall. So all this is also full of symbolism. You know, you have this rope dancer, which basically is he sort of lives the ideal, because he's an overgoing, right? He goes between one tower and the other, and there's only a small rope he has to go to, and it's basically very dangerous. He can fall down, thus he's a downgoer as well, right? And what happens is that there's sort of a buffoon fellow. He sort of mocks on him. And he says, like, what are you doing between the towers? Like, what are you doing trying to overgo something? And he eventually he makes him fall down. Yeah, they are a rival, you know. He was trying to make him fall. So that is, you know, an image of what will happen if you try to go over an abyss, even metaphorically. There are people that will just try to take you down, you know, and they might succeed. That is exactly what is meant by being a downgoer and an overgoer. Zarathustra, however, remained standing, and just beside him fell the body, badly injured and disfigured, but not yet dead. After a while, consciousness returned to the shattered man, and he saw Zarathustra kneeling beside him. "What art thou doing there?" said he at last. "I knew long ago that the devil would trip me up. Now he dragged me to hell. Wilt thou prevent him?" "On mine honor, my friend," answered Zarathustra, "there is nothing at all there is nothing of all that whereof thou speakest. There is no devil and no hell. Thy soul will be dead even sooner than thy body. Fear therefore nothing any more." So obviously, in this culture, they believed in heaven and hell and religion and everything. But Zarathustra says that doesn't exist. You will just die, and that will be that. And you don't have to fear hell, he says. The man looked up distrustfully. "If thou speakest the truth," said he, "I lose nothing when I lose life. I am not much more than an animal which hath been taught to dance by blows and scanty fare." So here, it's saying that if religion isn't real, if God isn't real, then I am just like dust particles. I'm just, in the end, nothing matters at all. If he's that's what he thinks when Zarathustra says this. So Zarathustra says, "Not at all," said Zarathustra. "Thou hast made danger thy calling. Therein there is nothing contemptible. No, thou perishest by thy calling. Therefore will I bury thee with my own hands." So instead of going to heaven or hell, you will be buried if you follow your calling, if you live by your virtue. "Thou hast made danger thy calling, therein there is nothing contemptible. No perishes thou by thy calling, therefore will I bury thee with my own hands," he says. So I hold this rock dancer in very high regard. When Zarathustra had said this, the dying one did not reply further, but he moved his hand as if he sought the hand of Zarathustra in gratitude. I think this is powerful stuff. Meanwhile, the evening... Okay, let me see if I can have any quotes here, actually. Lista automatically så pathogen har jag sover på telegram bestämt cousin to dancing star. I forget the quote. This is a quote about the last man. And this is a good quote. And we can do this one. This is sort of double quote though. They hang together. I don't know if I should sort of signal it. Does that work? I don't know. I'm already streaming for 50 minutes already. Wow. Meanwhile, the evening came on, and the marketplace revealed itself in gloom. Then the people dispersed, for even curiosity and terror become fatigued. Zarathustra, however, still sat beside the dead man on the ground, absorbed in thought, so he forgot the time. But at last it became night, and a cold wind blew upon the lonely one. Then arose Zarathustra and said this to his heart: Verily, a fine catch of fish had Zarathustra made today. It is not a man he had caught, but a corpse. Sombre is human life, and as yet without meaning, a buffoon may be faithful to it. Buffoon, I think that just means like a stupid person. Almost like you can say a donkey, a monkey or something. I don't understand why he say he made a fine catch. So this man dies and he says he made a fine catch. He made a corpse catch. I want to teach men the sense of their existence, which is the Superman, the lightning out of the dark cloud, man. But still I am far from them, and my sense speaketh not unto their sense. To men I am still something between a fool and a corpse. Gloomy is the night, gloomy are the ways of Zarathustra. Come, thou cold and stiff companion, I carry thee to the place where I shall bury thee with my own hands. When Zarathustra had said this to his heart, he put the corpse upon his shoulder and set out on his way. Yet he had not gone 100 steps when there stole a man up to him and whispered in his ear. And lo, he that spake was the buffoon from the tower. Leave this town, O Zarathustra, said he. There are too many here who hate thee. The good and the just hate thee, and call thee their enemy and despiser. The believers in the orthodox belief hate thee, and call thee a danger to the multitude. It was thy good fortune to be laughed at, and verily thou speakest like a buffoon. It was thy good fortune to associate with a dead dog. By so humiliating thyself, thou hast saved thy life today. Depart, however, from this town, or tomorrow I shall jump over thee, a living man over a dead one. And when he had said this, the buffoon vanished. Zarathustra, however, went on through the dark streets. So he gets harassed by this person who basically made this rope dancer die. And but Zarathustra doesn't really mind. He just continues. At the gate of the town, the grave diggers met him. They shone their torch on his face, and recognizing Zarathustra, they sorely derided him. Zarathustra is carrying away the dead dog. A fine thing that Zarathustra had turned a grave digger, for our hands are too cleanly for that roast. Will Zarathustra steal the bite from the devil? Well then, good luck to the repast, if only the devil is not a better chief than Zarathustra. He will steal them both, he will eat them both. And they laughed among themselves and put their heads together. Zarathustra made no answer thereto, but went on his way. When he had gone on for 2 hours, past forests and swamps, he had heard too much of the hungry howling of the wolves, and he himself became hungry. So he halted at a lonely house in which a light was burning. Hunger attacked me, said Zarathustra. Like a robber among forests and swamps, my hunger attacked me, and late in the night. Strange humours hath my hunger. Often it cometh to me only after a repast, and all day it hath failed to come. Where hath it been? And thereupon Zarathustra knocked at the door of the house. An old man appeared, who carried a light, and asked, Who cometh unto me and my bad sleep? A living man and a dead one, said Zarathustra. Give me something to eat and drink, I forgot it during the day. He that feedeth the hungry refresheth his own soul, said wisdom. The old man withdrew, but came back immediately and offered Zarathustra bread and wine. A bad country for the hungry, said he. That is why I live here. Animal and man come unto me, the anchorite. But bid thy companion eat and drink also, he is wearier than thou. Zarathustra answered, My companion is dead. I shall hardly be able to persuade him to eat. That doth not concern me, said the old man sullenly. He that knocketh at my door must take what I offer him. Eat and fare ye well. Thereafter Zarathustra again went on for 2 hours, trusting to the path and the light of the stars, for he was an experienced night walker, and liked to look into the face of all that sleep, all that slept. When the morning dawned, however, Zarathustra found himself in a thick forest, and no path was any longer visible. He then put the dead man in a hollow tree at his head, for he wanted to protect him from the wolves, and laid himself down on the ground and moss. And immediately he fell asleep, tired in body, but with a tranquil soul. So Zarathustra is on the walk here, and he meets this old guy who provides him with some food and drink. Long slept Zarathustra, and not only the rosy dawn passed over his head, but also the morning. At last, however, his eyes opened, and amazedly he gazed into the forest and the stillness. Amazedly he gazed into himself. Then he arose quickly, like a seafarer, and all at once seed the land, and he shouted for joy, for he saw a new truth, and he spake thus to his heart. A light hath dawned upon me. I need companions, living ones, not dead companions and corpses, which I carry me where I will. That is an interesting quote, I think. I will just catch it right away. So the significance of this is that, you know, in life you need companions. You don't need not dead companions, which means like you need like fresh blood in spirituality and in thought and in everything, you know. But I need living companions who will follow me because they want to follow themselves and to the place where I will. That is also a good quote. I really like this quote actually. When you like someone, for example, like an intellectual person or something, I have my favorites, which I won't actually. Well, I have Nietzsche, for example. But what they inspire is something in you. So what you're actually liking is basically almost like an improved version of you. It's like an ideal or like an image of something that you sort of could become if like everything went perfect. You probably won't be that good, but you know, because there are many different kinds of followers. There are many people who sort of who want to be obedient, to just they seek something else in following someone. They seek maybe friendship, but they don't really like have anything going for themselves. I mean, not that there's anything wrong with that, but what he says here is that he wants followers who want to follow him because they want to follow themselves, you know. So that he inspires something in them, because then he has a much greater impact, because then he sort of because then his followers will go out in the world after him, and they will do great things, hopefully. A light hath dawned upon me, not to the people is Zarathustra to speak, but to companions. Zarathustra shall not be the herdsman and hound. So he is not speaking to everyone. He is speaking to those he can inspire. Basically, that is what he wants to do. To allure many from the herd, for that purpose have I come. The people and the herd must be angry with me. A robber shall Zarathustra be called by the herdsman. He wants to sort of allure people from the general culture onto his side, into something overgoing, something radical, something different. People who wants to follow themselves instead of just being a part of the greater flock of people. Herdsmen, I say, but they call themselves the good and the just. Herdsmen, I say, but they call themselves the believers in orthodox belief. Behold the good and just. Whom do they hate most? Him who breaketh up their tables of values, the breaker, the lawbreaker. He, however, is the creator. Behold the believers of all beliefs. Whom do they hate the most? Him who breaketh up their tables of values, the breaker, the lawbreaker. He, however, is the creator. So, the good and the just are... they are, in some sense, they are like the mouthpieces of the general sort of consensus of things, the general culture, or the mainstream culture, you can say. And is that correct though? I don't know. Yeah, I'm not really sure I understand exactly what it means. But, you know, I mean, it's all... who do they hate the most, you know? They hate the ones to have new values, who breaks the old values, the lawbreaker. But Zarathustra said that he, however, is the creator. There was another quote here. I forgot to add it. Yeah, he says he loved the great despisers. I will add that quote actually. Because I really think that Nietzsche is... he really likes to radical people. And the people who are at odds with the mainstream. Almost whatever what that is. Well, it's not, but it almost necessitates that the mainstream cannot have the correct ideal. And I think that is also true. Behold the believers of all beliefs. Yeah, well, whatever you believe, you do hate the people who sort of... because your values is sort of your deepest... it's your deepest beliefs, basically. And if someone sort of rocks with that and breaks and tries to get at your belief, then you will hate them, obviously. But Nietzsche says that this is necessary, because he, however, is the creator. In order to create something new, you have to break the old values. You have to create new values. He who breaks their tables of values is the creator. Companions the creator seeketh, not corpses, and not herds or believers either. Fellow creators the creator seeketh, those who grave new values on new tables. Exactly. So Zarathustra basically seek people like himself, maybe not as good as himself, you can say, but of the same caliber, like to have the same belief. Well, you know what I've spoken so far. not corpses, like not people who are just who don't bring anything new to anything, who just have like outdated beliefs or whatever. Companions, the Creator seeketh, and fellow reapers, for everything is ripe for the harvest with him. But he lacketh 100 sickles, so he plucketh the ears of corn and is vexed. Companions the Creator seeketh, and such as know how to whet their sickles. Destroyers will they be called, and despisers of good and evil, but they are the reapers and rejoicers. Fellow creators Zarathustra seeketh, fellow reapers and fellow rejoicers Zarathustra seeketh. What hath he to do with herds and herdsmen and corpses? I mean, there is someone I really think about when I read all this. He's sort of a public person who is. There is so much of this which applies to this individual, I can say. But in some sense I don't want to say it because that makes it too much about him. I just want to read this old book and just take it for what it is in a way. Yeah, so this guy is like very right-wing, and he is very young, and he if you know who you might, if you are in, you sort of follow these sort of dissident things and everything, you might actually know what I'm talking about. There's one really talented person who I think when I read all this just applies to him, you know. Well, it does certainly have something which doesn't apply to him. But there's like no better example. Fellow creators, Zarathustra seeketh, fellow reapers and fellow rejoicers, Zarathustra seeketh. What hath he to do with herds and herdsmen and corpses? And thou, my first companion, rest in peace. Well have I buried thee in thy hollow tree, well have I hid thee from the wolves. But I part from thee, the time hath arrived. Twixt rosy dawn and rosy dawn there came unto me a new truth. So we certainly give a lot of respect to this rope dancer, which he carried for a long time and which he hid from the wolves. So, yeah. I am not to be a herdsman. I am not to be a grave digger. I'm not exactly sure what the grave digger analogy is there. Someone who like digs for cheap stuff, cheap truths, or I don't know. Not any more will I discourse unto the people, for the last time have I spoken unto the dead. So he basically says that the rabble, the people, are basically, in some sense, they are dead. With the creators, the reapers, and the rejoicers will I associate. The rainbow will I show them, and all the stairs to the Superman. To the lone dwellers will I sing my song, and to the twain dwellers, and unto him who hath still ears for the unheard, will I make the heart heavy with my happiness. I make for my goal, I follow my course, over the loitering and tardy will I leap, thus let my ongoing be their downgoing. The language is sort of archaic, I feel. I sort of get an unconscious feeling that what it all means. This had Zarathustra said to his heart when the sun stood at noontide. Then he looked inquiringly aloft, for he heard above him the sharp call of a bird, And behold, an eagle swept through the air in wide circles, and on it hung a serpent, not like a prey, but like a friend, for it kept itself coiled round the eagle's neck. You know, just like the Bible, you will have like serpents and things like this. You have the Adam and Eve story, and there's like the snake, the serpent. Sort of this, it's a very sort of mythological concept. And what is a serpent? A serpent is like, I think Jordan Peterson speak about this. It's like a thing that sort of nasty or sort of dangerous thing potentially that is able to sort of sneak in wherever. So you can make great walls around your city, but a serpent can still get in. And there's like an image here, I think. An eagle swept through the air in wide circles, and on it hung a serpent. Not like a prey, but like a friend. So this means something. What does it mean? I don't know. I want to know. I don't know what it means. I wonder if I can Google Nietzsche quotes and it will give me a definition. Yes, there are people who are much smarter than me who has discerned a lot more what the significance of this. Wow, this might be really, really good actually. But I also kind of like to just read it myself, in a sense, because if you rely too much on others people's discoveries, then you're not really developing your own sort of faculty for understanding, I think. Well, you're sort of being fed the meaning. You're supposed to be able to arrive to something on your own. Well, I mean, it's nothing wrong with reading it like this, but yeah, but it doesn't exact. What does this quote mean now? Wait, sorry, what's that? Yeah, what does the eagle and the serpent mean? That is what I want to know. Nature is used to refer to Zarathustra's soul. There's a great chapter ahead where C and his soul converse with one another. Okay, so the snake is his wisdom actually. It symbolizes his wisdom. I think eagle means like it's like a bringer of it's a in Lord of the Rings. I remember at the end of the third movie, the eagles are they say, "Oh, the eagles are coming," and the eagles like they're very good, very sort of good creatures, and they basically bring Frodo and Sam back from Mount Doom, and they basically save them. So they are like I'm stammering so much. They're like heralds, right? They're like they bring good things. So his wisdom comes to him. Is that what he's saying? Because the eagle, it doesn't have sharp claws on it. It's like a friend. Could they self coil around the eagle's neck? Yeah, around the neck. They are mine animals, said Zarathustra, and rejoiced in his heart. The proudest animal under the sun, and the wisest animal under the sun, they have come out to reconnoiter. I'm gonna look this word up actually. Reconnoiter. Isn't that what it said? Explore? Yeah, that makes sense. They want to know whether Zarathustra still liveth? Verily do I still live. Most dangerous have I found it among men than among animals. In dangerous paths goeth Zarathustra. Let mine animals lead me. When Zarathustra had said this, he remembered the words of the saint in the forest. Then he sighed and spake thus to his heart. Would that I were wiser. Would that I were wise from the very heart, like my serpent. But I am asking the impossible. Therefore do I ask my pride to go always with my wisdom. And if my wisdom should some day forsake me, alas, it loveth to fly away. May my pride then fly with my folly. He remembered the words of the saint in the forest. And the saint said that God was dead. Well, the saint said that God. The saint believed. What did the saint say? Actually, you can look it up. So the Zen says, don't give them any gifts, don't give them any alms. I make hymns and sing them. The hymns are singing, weeping, laughing, and mumbling a praise to God, who is my God. Oh, I will wrap it up really soon, actually. It's getting late and I'm tired. Yeah, I don't really know what it means. Thus began Zarathustra's downgoing. We can check this out, actually. Yeah, so Zarathustra, he's a person, but he's also like a metaphor. Like Plato used Socrates, because Plato he writes a lot about. I haven't read too much Plato, but Socrates is the sort of figure who talks with, who is the sort of protagonist in some of Plato's stories, I think. So Zarathustra is basically the same thing. Dancing is meant for the way in which one thinks. This was 11 years ago. Wow. I should probably sign up to this Reddit, maybe. Wow, that's interesting. Yeah, it's not active. That's a shame. 4 months ago, 2 months ago, 3 months ago. But I sort of feel that Nietzsche is becoming less popular. Basically, all of the political things are basically turning left, and I think Nietzsche is fundamentally right-wing in many respects. Maybe not all respects, but in many respects, I think. So that is partly why people aren't drawn to Nietzsche anymore. So this was posted 11 years ago. So what he has done is he has written sort of he has explained much better than I explained what it all means, probably. But yeah, I mean, like, I want to actually just read it and take it for what I understand it mean. I just sort of try to train myself in just reading, understanding, and explaining. It's more fun if I do it that way than if I just try to just absorb what others have absorbed from the same text before. So yeah, thus begins Zarathustra's downgoing. I mean, I will stop here. I won't read the 3 Metamorphoses right now. Well, should I actually? It's very short. I don't know. Yeah, I should probably read it. I want to read it. The 3 Metamorphoses. 3 Metamorphoses. So this is like now we are finished with Zarathustra doing all these things and all the symbolism here, and now we do something else. This is Zarathustra's discourses. We start with the 3 Metamorphoses. This is 1. And the Metamorphosis, the meaning of that, I sort of understand, but not fully, I think. It's sort of an analogy, I think. Then a bit more comprehensive, maybe. A change of the form or nature of a thing or a person into a completely different one. Oh, yeah, exactly. Yeah, transformation, mutation, it's not an analogy at all. It has something else. In an insect or amphibian. Yeah, it will happen in physiology. I think when a cocoon transforms into a butterfly, that is a metamorphosis, probably. Something like that. Yeah, so I will copy paste this one here. And I should just probably not. $14. So yeah, now we will speak about the 3 Metamorphoses. Something that changes into another form. 3 Metamorphoses of the spirit were designated to you. How the spirit becometh a camel, the camel a lion, and the lion at last a child. Many heavy things are there for the spirit, the strong load-bearing spirit in which reverence dwelleth, for the heavy and the heaviest longeth its strength. What is heavy? So asketh the load-bearing spirit. Then kneeleth it down like the camel and wanted to be well laid. What is the heaviest thing, ye heroes? Asketh the load-bearing spirit, that I might take it upon me and rejoice in my strength? Is it not this, to humiliate oneself in order to mortify one's pride, to exhibit one's folly in order to mock at one's wisdom? Or is it this, to desert our cause when it celebrated its triumph, to ascend high mountains to tempt the tempter? Or is it this, to feed on the acorns and grass of knowledge, and for the sake of truth to suffer hunger of soul? Or is it this, to be sick and dismiss comforters, and make friends of the deaf who never hear thy requests? Or is it this, to go into fall water when it is the water of truth, and not disclaim cold frogs and hot toads? Or is this, to love those who despise us, and give one's hand to the phantom when it is going to frighten us? All these heaviest things the load-bearing spirit taketh upon itself, like the camel which, when laden, hasteneth into the wilderness, so hasteneth the spirit into its wilderness. So this is already where I feel like the analogies are very vague. I don't really understand them very well. You have the load-bearing spirit, and like, what is the heaviest thing, ye heroes? To humiliate oneself in order to mortify one's pride. Yeah. That isn't easy, right? That is not easy. To exhibit one's folly in order to mock at one's wisdom. Maybe it sounds pretentious, but I almost feel like that's what I'm doing right now. I'm exhibiting my folly. I'm like basically displaying. Well, I mean, exhibit does not mean like it means like showcasing my folly. To mock, to like showcase my lack of wisdom, basically. So I am a load-bearing spirit of some sense, in some sense, right? But he asks questions, or is it this to desert or cause when it celebrated its triumph, to ascend high mountains, to tempt the tempter? You achieve victory, and after the victory there's a big celebration. But for the load-bearing spirits, what is the heaviest thing? It is to keep going, basically, to not accept all the rewards. Don't celebrate the triumph. To ascend high mountains, to tempt the tempter. I'm not sure what is meant by tempt the tempter, no. Or is it this, to feed on the acorns and grass of knowledge, and for the sake of truth to suffer hunger of soul? I have real issues with the word soul. I don't exactly know what is meant by it. Or is it this, to be sick and dismiss comforters, and make friends of the deaf who never hear thy requests? I mean, I don't really think like there's any like great point in doing these things. But I mean, they are heavy for the load-bearing spirit, right? But I mean, should you like do them just because? I don't know. To go into fall water where the water of truth, when it's not the water of truth, and to disclaim cold frogs and hot toads. Disclaim cold frogs and hot toads. Disclaim. Refuse to acknowledge. Okay. I didn't know that. Refuse to acknowledge cold frogs and hot toads, symbolizing what exactly? Or is it this, to love those who despise us, and give one's hand to the phantom when it is going to frighten us? Yeah, it's certainly not easy to love the people who despise you. I basically despise them back. It says to give one's hand to the phantom when it's going to frighten us. Like, just take, like, I'm thinking about if I'm discussing it with, like, making comments on Facebook, and we have like a back and forth. Like, if I sort of show my weak side, then I'm sort of giving my hand to the phantom, because I necessarily want, well, if I show my weak side to someone who I sort of who I feel can be powerful against me, then I think that is basically what it means. To give one's hand to the phantom because the person I'm speaking to is basically a phantom, you know. I don't know very much about them. To love those, yeah, to like act in good faith to the people who despise me, and like, isn't that what it means though? I'm just sort of thinking out loud here. Okay. All these heaviest things the Lord Spirit take it upon itself, and like the camel, which when laden hastened into the wilderness, so hastened the Spirit into its wilderness. Okay. So some people might do things like all this. Some camel-like people. But I don't think that many people like are just like camel-like for no reason. I mean, does this work really? But he says, but in the loneliest wilderness happeneth the second metamorphosis. Here the spirit becometh a lion. Freedom will it capture, and the lordship in its own wilderness. Okay, so we have a metamorphosis, meaning a transformation from one thing to the other. Its last lord it here seeketh, hostile will it be to him, and to its last god for victory will it struggle with the great dragon. What is the great dragon, which the spirit is no longer inclined to call the Lord and God? Thou shalt is the great dragon called, but the spirit of the lion saith, I will. Thou shalt lie it in its path, sparkling with gold, a scale-covered beast, and on every scale glittereth golden, thou shalt. The values of 1,000 years glitter on those scales, and thus speaketh the mightiest of all dragons. All the values of things glitter on me. All values have already been created, and all created values do I represent. Verily, there shall be no I will any more. Thus speaketh the dragon. My brethren, wherefore is there need of the lion in the spirit? Why sufficeth not the beast of burden, which renounceth and is irreverent? Okay, so you have the camel, which is a load-bearing spirit, which is sort of the first step, and you have the second in the initiation, which is the lion. Here the spirit becomes a lion, freedom, and as opposed to the camel, the lion is free and is a lordship in its own wilderness, Its last lord it here seeketh, hostile will be to him, and to its last god, for victory will it struggle with the great dragon. What is the great dragon, which the spirit is no longer inclined to call Lord and God? Thou shalt is the great dragon called, but the spirit of the lion said, I will. Okay. So the lion is sort of still beneath a god and a lord. But God says, thou shalt, There are rules. But the lion, the spirit of the lion, wants to say, I will. So we have troubles with this. Thou shalt lie it in its path, sparkling with gold, meaning that all this is valuable. A scale-covered beast, and on every scale glittereth golden thou shalt. Okay, so the symbolism, sparkling with gold, it appears valuable. The values of 1,000 years glitter on those scales, and thus speaketh the mightiest of all dragons. All the values of things glitter on me. All values have already been created, and all created values do I represent. Verily, there shall be no I will any more. Thus speaketh the dragon. So the camel can carry heavy burdens, but the lion can battle with the great dragon. And the great dragon is you can say like the orthodox belief, which says thou shalt, and thou shalt do this and this and this, for example. And it appears extremely attractive, sparkle with gold. It might even be very valuable. But all the scales, they glitter on the dragon, on this ideal. All values do I represent. So this is why we have a third metamorphosis. My brethren, wherefore is there need of a lion in the spirit? Why sufficeth not the beast of burden, which is renounced and is reverent, to create new values, that even the lion cannot yet accomplish, but to create itself freedom for the new creating, that the might of the lion do. To create itself freedom and give a holy nay even unto duty. For that, my brethren, there is need of the lion. To assume the right to new values, that is the most formidable assumption for a load-bearing and a reverent spirit. Verily, unto such a spirit it is praying, and the work of a beast of prey. As its holiest it once loved, thou shalt know it is forced to find illusion and arbitrariness even in the holiest things, that it may capture freedom from its love. The lion is needed for this capture. But tell me, my brethren, what the child can do, which even the lion could not do? Why hath the praying lion still to become a child? Innocence is a child, and forgetfulness a new beginning, a game, a self-rolling wheel, a first movement, a holy yea. Aye, for the game of creating, my brethren, there is needed a holy yea unto life, its own will it know the spirit, it's his own word winneth the world's outcast. 3 metamorphoses of the spirit have I designated to you, how the spirit became a camel, the camel a lion, and the lion at last a child. Thus spake Zarathustra, and at that time he abode in the town which is called the Pied Cow. So I have left some issues with understanding all these sentences here, well, all these analogies. I think I get a gist of it, which is to say that first there is a camel. Well, the first thing you have to do is be able to carry a given load, for example, to obey something and to carry something that is difficult. Then you are a good obeyer, you can be a good follower in some sense, That is something. But what is a next level is to become a lion, and what the lion says is that I will. And he battles with the commander, with the ones who said thou shalt. And that is valuable to object to things. That is the next level. But the last level, the greatest in these three metamorphoses at least, is to be able to create new values, basically. You know, you can have a strong person who is like a lion, who goes after the commanders and go after the rules and wants to change things and battles it out, but he himself might necessarily not be great enough. Just because he battles doesn't mean he's great enough to create something new. And here it says that, you know, what the child can do, which even the lion could not do. What hath the praying lion still to become a child? Innocence is a child, and forgetfulness. A new beginning, a game, a self-rolling wheel, a first movement, holy yea. For the game of creating. I mean, that is basically the greatest thing, right? To create new things, to create new values. And you can't do that if you're a camel, if you're just a load-bearing spirit. And you can't even do that if you're just a confident spirit, a battling spirit, a spirit that says I will. You have to be innocent, forgetful. You have to be like a child. Then you can grow, and things can grow from you. Then you are like a story. For the game of creating, my brethren, there is neither the holy yea unto life its own will. Will it know the Spirit? His own word winneth the world's outcast. Am I understanding it correctly though? From the lion to the child? I'm not sure I'm understanding it correctly. I mean, can't you say like this is also about the lion? If the lion says I will, right? The lion is like the top of the food chain on the savannah in Africa, right? He just does whatever he wants, eats whoever he wants, and he battles with the great dragon. Did I understand it? Did I not understand it? I'm not sure. Okay, but I will stop there. I will read this. I'm not sure if I will read tomorrow. Tomorrow I actually have the day off, because I took the day off because I have to go to the dentist, which really sucks. I have some cavities which I need to get fixed. And I am the sort of person who have sort of, what's the word in English, you sort of gag when the dentist like stuffs all this shit in my mouth because after I have my mouth open, and he's just filling my mouth with stuff, and he spends a lot of time, and I don't like that at all. So I have to do that tomorrow at 12 o'clock. And before I'm doing that, I obviously have to get these shots, so to numb my jaws. So maybe I won't be able to have like a functioning jaw tomorrow. Maybe I won't be able to read. I don't know. So yeah, I mean, I'm alive. Probably nobody have seen this yet. Hopefully someone will. Please subscribe to my channel, write a comment, like my video, check out my blog, myquestformeaning.com. Yeah. Thank you for watching, and have a good night.